apparently I haven't expressed myself clearly enough to let you understand the quarter scale that I use and why I use it and everything. I have simple set on my mill here, although I believe the majority of bandsaw mills that are made are manual sawmills and without any type of computerized set works. So people that don't have simple set or any other computerized set works, they have to manually set their blade height so that they get consistent board thickness. And the only way I know of doing that is using a quarter scale, unless you can, if you want to measure with a tape measure every single cut you make. So when I'm talking about the quarter scale and the setting of the quarter scale so we get consistent board thickness, that's also and primarily aimed at people that have a manual mill so that they can get their boards to be consistent with the least amount of waste being created, least number of cuts, and so on. Since I have simple set here, I don't really need to use the quarter scale for my normal milling of boards. Once I get everything squared away, my can is all set and ready to go, if I am going to be taking a can of whatever size and just reducing it down to individual boards, I don't need to look at the quarter scale. I just set the simple set to move in the 4/4 setting or the 5/4 or whatever, and it just does its work. But that's not what I use the quarter scale for. And I think we're going to go mobile so I can explain better, hopefully by pointing and grunting. I have a visual, and that'll explain, I hope, what I use my quarter scale for, and maybe that'll make sense to everybody out there. So this is a cross section that I went out in the pouring rain just for you guys to cut so that I could do my visual. So if this were a regular standard log looking on it edgeways, and let's just say for argument's sake it's a 12-inch diameter, and for this discussion we're going to pretend there's no such thing as a pith, so I don't want to worry or even discuss centering the pith, boxing the heart, or anything else. All I want to talk about is cutting boards that are the same consistent thickness. So when I cut a log or break down a log, I prefer to make one cut on my first face cut, rotate 180 degrees, and then I make my second face cut down here. Then I can rotate another 90 degrees and cut my third face cut wherever it happens to go. Generally speaking, ignoring the pith, the first face cut, whatever that height is not a critical measurement. It's the only thing that's, in my opinion, that's important is the distance from the bark here and the bark there so that you can get some type of usable lumber out of your very first face cut. So here's where I then use my quarter scale. So I've already made my first face cut. That was easy. I rotate my log 180 degrees right there. My goal is when I get, and I'm going to cut from here all the way down to here, just for this demonstration. My goal is that this board down here is going to be the same thickness as that board up there. So what I do, and this is where I use my quarter scale, because I want to not use the inch scale for this type of thing because it's a pain in the butt to try to do the math every single time. Oh, I want to get a 1-inch board, so I have to add 1/8 of an inch, but then I have to figure out that there's 5 boards, and that comes out to, whatever number of inches, 5 5/8, whatever. Don't want to get into that, so I use my quarter scale. So what I do is I bring my blade down someplace until the indicator is lining up with, in this particular demonstration, a 4/4 mark, wherever that is. That's where I basically will stop using the quarter scale once I know where my blade is on my second face to start making my final or finished cuts all the way down through. As long as my cut here, my first, or let's call it my second face cut, is on a quarter or 4/4 scale, 5/4 scale, not important what it is. As long as it's on there, when I'm making my cuts all the way down through, and I finally get down to my very last cut, this board right there is the same thickness as the top board that I've taken off. I don't have an extra little tiny 1/4 cut or 1/2 cut I have to make in order to end up with a nice usable board that's the same thickness as everything else. So do I use the 1/4 scale on every single cut I make? Absolutely not. Do I use it to plan ahead and do my, let's call it my opposing first cut? Absolutely, I do that all the time so that I can plan ahead and know what I'm going to end up with before I start making my boards. The other thing I do is by using the 1/4 scale, I am changing my units of measurement from inches and fractions to boards. So if I'm planning on cutting 4/4 or 5/4, my single unit of measure is a board 4/4 of an inch thick or 5/4 of an inch thick or whatever. And what I've experienced many, many times is once I make my cant that is from this cut here to my second cut, some number of boards, and I've done my rotation and I've made my third face cut, rotated again and made my fourth face cut at my 1/4, whatever my 1/4 scale mark is, no matter what I turn on the cant, I end up with an even a set number of boards from the bunk. So as I cut down, I still have a set number of boards left to be milled, and I don't have to worry so much about, well, do I have to go back and recalibrate everything, tap the top, let's turn that, tap the top with the blade and then reset the set works, because all I need to do is lower the blade or raise the blade until I know it's down in this area someplace, line up the indicator with the 1/4 scale mark, whatever that is, and I continue on because I know that this is one board in dimension. I hope that makes sense.